following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey everybody, I'm Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. As you can tell, I'm alone today. Jada was unavailable to make it at the last minute, and Janice has been out of town for a while. She just got back. There's a bunch of things going on with everybody, so you just have me. But I have an extraordinary guest that I am really, really excited about. So, as we all know, I do some crazy TikTok videos, and I'm a little obsessed with TikTok. Who isn't, right? I mean, come on. If you can't admit that you like TikTok and that it's like a wild ride, then we can't be friends. So, there's this guy that I came across on TikTok, and I just fell in love with his content. Let me tell you a little bit about Bryan. So today our episode is called Dumb Bitch Academy. The name itself says it all. Bryan actually helps people, men, women, whatever, deal with making crazy, bad, obnoxious choices in their dating life. And we're going to talk to him today. So Bryan Nateras is joining us today from TikTok, and he helps women with practical advice to assist them with graduating from Dumb Bitch Academy. Bryan has studied a diverse range of subjects for the last 15 years, some of which include psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, and spirituality. See, I knew I was going to like this guy. He is currently working on a self-help book filled with practical solutions to complex problems, utilizing the wisdom of his ancestry along with modern research in many fields. Though, now I'm going to quote him, he would rather fuck off into the woods. My feelings exactly myself. If I didn't have a boyfriend, he better like strap on, because I was like, oh, I like this guy. Bryan feels a sense of responsibility to share what he knows, so he has chosen the path of healer like his ancestors. He says, and I'm quoting again, "I observe the practices of my indigenous blood and have learned much through them. Since I'm stuck with you fuckers, I guess I might as well help you find your way in this pile of trash." And that is why I have Bryan here today to help us with our pile of trash. So, DJ, if you could bring up Bryan, I'd love to chit chat with him for a while. Bryan,
Hey there.
welcome to 50 Shades.
Damn.
Are you all set there, Bryan? We can hear you, by the way. Is something happening? The connection is bad. Oh, okay. Okay, we might have to switch Bryan. Bryan says his connection is really bad. And if that happens, I'll just BS my way through shit, winging it until we have him back. So Bryan is actually living here in Southern California as well, which I'm super excited about because we might have to be friends. Oh, Bryan, are you there? I see stuff. You might want to flip your phone around.
All right. Okay. Let me just figure this out, because I don't know what the heck's going on with the connection. It was just really bad. 1 sec.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So Bryan's going to figure out what's going on with his phone. So as anybody who's been on this, show or watched this show before, we tend to have technical difficulties. And here in Southern California, it has been raining like freaking crazy. And I always have bad connection problems when we're having rain. So my hope is that nothing happens other than this today, because this is really fucking fun. I love it. I love being here by myself. I don't. I'm just keep telling myself that so that I don't sound like a complete idiot. There he is. There is Bryan. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hey, how's it going? So I'll just use my phone camera because this is pretty bad.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you're here.
The rain really
So,
screwed up all the my connection for some reason. I'm not sure. It's been really bad lately.
well, I was just talking and saying that here in Southern California, when I have really bad connection problems, it's always when it's raining. And it has rained so much here that I've had some horrible connection problems too. So it could be that. So, welcome to the show. I'm super happy you are here. I can't wait to have this conversation with you. So, tell us, Bryan, what's your life like? Oh, I lost him. God damn it. So here we are. We're just talking with ourselves. This should be easy for me since all I do is talk to myself all day long anyway. I have conversations in my head all the
Okay.
time. Here he is. Yay.
Okay. I'll just
Okay.
continue like this.
It's all good. So, Bryan, so what exactly do you do? Is there something specific that you, besides your TikTok, helping people with, their life? What do you do in your life?
What do I do in my life? I guess you could say that I consider myself, where I've chosen the path of the healer, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a guide, and
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot to do with my roots and where I come from and how I grew up. I have indigenous blood in my family. I grew up
Okay.
with uh, wise men, wise women stories,
All right.
and I always had a deep respect for the spiritual and wisdom. And when I was a kid, I said, when I grow up, I want to be old and wise. So unfortunately, nobody told me how fucked up that path was going to be. But you know, yeah, I
Yeah,
chose it, and that's what the universe chose for me, and that's how it goes. As far as like what I do professionally, I mean, in this game that I play, I'm a business owner. I hustle. I do what I gotta do to set myself free. I'm rich in time. I
okay.
spend a lot of time with my kid. I have an 11-year-old, and
Nice.
I made it my goal to make sure that I'm there at least until she's 18, to make sure that I raise a decent woman and a decent person in this
That's
world.
great.
And that's currently my goal as far as is in my life. And as far as like helping people reach out to me. I take like 1 or 2 calls a day. I schedule
Okay.
1 or 2 calls a day, and usually it's a lot of people asking for advice, asking for dating advice. Even though like I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe it was that video that I posted and it got a lot of views and stuff. And it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense that everybody's digging into that pool because everybody's looking for value. But I would say I'm more in the place of, let me find your truth.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Afraid of.
I love that. By the way, I think I can hear you tap or typing. It's coming up pretty loud on this end.
Okay,
So
sorry about that.
coming from a woman who grew up without a good role model, I did not have a father figure role model. And knowing that raising daughters myself, Bryan, um, my goal was to give them a dad that could be a good role model for them. Unfortunately, I chose bad men because that was the path that I had. So
Okay.
I had to learn to heal myself, and actually I'm a healer as well, Bryan.
Awesome.
So I completely relate to you. And when it comes to girls, I really commend you for, as having being a father to a daughter, knowing how important it is to raise a young woman in this world, having a good connection and role model with you. It's the greatest thing that you can do in your life. And
Yeah.
I do gotta tell you though, it won't stop at 18. Girls
I
don't
can
go away.
imagine.
I
Yeah.
have 3 of them. So, I get it. So,
Congrats.
thank you. I came across your TikTok and I was thoroughly entertained. You are by far one of my favorite um people on TikTok.
Thank you.
Most of it's BS and I just scroll right through. I spend a lot of time watching people on TikTok who are healers, who are psychic readers, who are witches,
Hmm.
who are of the same kind of thing that I do. And then I found you and I was like, yes. So, I love your content where you're like, I'm your asshole best friend that's going to tell you the truth. Well, I'm that asshole best friend to all my friends. So we
We all
have
need
some
an asshole
things in
best friend.
common. Right? So tell me about how you came up with Dumb Bitch Academy.
Well, Dumpage Academy started off like sort of as a joke, because it was just being my natural asshole self. Because I guess when you get to a certain place in life, I guess you can, borrowing the term of Abraham Maslow and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you get to the place of self-actualization, which is just the beginning, it's not like the final destination. And that's where I consider myself to be. And other people that are in that same place, like they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that if you know, you know. You're part of an exclusive club, and it took you a
Yeah.
really, really long time and a lot of trials and tribulations and pain and sorrow to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
once you get to that place, you kind of look at people and are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like everybody's just going around in circles, you know what I mean? So me being my genuine asshole self, like I like to talk shit, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then when people come to me, it's like they come to me with the same problems. So I'm like, you're just wandering the halls of Dumb Bitch Academy, bumping into lockers and shit. So if you actually want to genuinely seek your truth and actually want to have a good partner and want to actually exist in this world, in the real world,
Yeah.
where there is substance and kindness and tenderness and authenticity and connection,
Yeah.
you're going to have to educate yourself in certain things. You're going to have to go through the trials of life and dive into your pain and your sorrows and the lessons of life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I kind of just call it Dumb Bitch Academy. So we're all kind of operating the same software right now. So
Yeah.
it's like substituting. You can't substitute substance, essentially. So like Dumb Bitch
Exactly.
Academy was just kind of a funny thing, and it kind of resonated with a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
people are asking me like for mugs and shirts and stuff. I'm like, get out of here, man. It's just,
Come on,
but I
I'm
kind
gonna
of
help you
adopted
with your. We're gonna get you
it.
merch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna get a little
I'm,
diploma. Here you go.
yeah, we're gonna get you
Yeah.
ball caps and t-shirts and sweatshirts that say "I graduated Dumb Bitch Academy." um,
Right.
so I gotta say that I wish I'd known someone like you when I was younger. It took me a long time to really do the exact same thing that you were talking about. It wasn't until I started this podcast almost a year and a half ago that having professionals on this show talking about what do you want? How are you going to get there? What are we going to
Yeah.
do to change things? And
Right.
really having objectives and actions to implement,
Right.
that is what really helped me. I've grown leaps and bounds in that time, and this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me, and that's why I do what I do, because I want to help people.
Yeah.
Oh, and my stuff is flickering. So so tell us, if you can, what are some examples of some of the things that people come to you with?
Some examples. I've gotten a diverse response. I've gotten people that are just really happy to see somebody else. Because the thing is, once you elevate yourself to a certain place, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you give off this energy, you know? And everything in the universe is energy. That's a fact. I'm not going to dispute it because it's a scientific fact, right?
Yes.
Everything is either condensed energy, which is mass, or it's a wave energy, which is radio, blah, blah, and all this stuff. Everything exists in the spectrum of energy.
Yes.
So it is measurable in neuroscience, and I know that because I reference a lot of the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and then some other German guys that I can't even pronounce their names. But once you elevate to yourself to a certain place, you attract like-minded people, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people call me and they tell me like, oh yeah, I did this and that, and I started meditating, and then like I feel and I feel like I see. It's like we see each other. To
Yeah.
be seen, to see and to be seen is such an extraordinary, beautiful thing. So I like to have this immense, like, extraordinary connections with people across like the country. Like the last
Mm-hmm.
one with some lady in Texas that she had like this, like she was gifted, like she clairvoyant stuff and all that, and I'm barely getting into that because my scope is through science. But a lot of the other stuff too is that people that are trying to genuinely, like, they're tired, when
Mm.
you're tired of your own bullshit
Yeah.
and you look for help, and that is the right energy, right? Because everything that we do in life is every problem that we have, every trauma that we have, all that,
Yeah.
in some small portion, the active ingredient is fear or lack.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
right,
Absolutely.
so then when the counter energy, the first step that you need to combat that energy is defiance. Defiance, because you have to want something better for yourself. I don't waste my time with people anymore to
Yeah.
convince them that they are worth fighting for. If you
Right.
want to go and dig around the trash and get tossed unmercifully by the waves of fate, go over there. Go ahead.
Mm.
Go get tossed around like a dumb bitch. Go ahead. Don't waste my time. But when you are ready to find your truth and you need a guide, I will gladly give you the most precious thing that I have to give you is my time. So I give everybody at least an hour of my time, right? But they come
Yeah.
with the right energy because they're ready to get to where they need to get to. So it's really easy. I don't have to convince anybody of anything. I just give them, like, okay, let's break down, where is your fear? Okay, this is your fear. Like, what are you going to do about it? And I set them up with a personalized plan. Okay, this is going to work for you. And part of, like, where I'm going with the book that I'm writing is I'm giving that process. And I always said, life should come with like instructions, it should
Mm-hmm.
come with a manual. So like basically I'm not saying like, hey, look, follow this and that and you'll get this and that. I'm just saying like this is a bag of tools that I want to present to you that you can use to leverage your position into much more fortuitous and auspicious circumstance, as far as love, as far as success, as far as happiness and abundance and spirituality, whatever it is. Like, here's the tools, you do the work, right?
You're right. And
So
now I agree with you. I do think that my thought process when you were saying those things was, I think our parents and our grandparents were supposed to be our guides. They were
yeah.
supposed to be our tool, our guidebook, our instruction manual.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
No.
Because either they didn't learn the proper things, or they didn't come from the right place to teach, or god damn it, I don't know why I'm flickering. Or we as I noticed by raising my own kids, they don't want to hear my shit. They don't want to hear what I learned. They don't want me to be their guide. They want to find it on their own time. And I
Yeah.
think that old saying, at least the one that I grew up with, is that you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's
So
another oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, go
Well,
ahead.
there's another saying though that I operate on. There is, in a saying in martial arts, is the master will appear when the student is ready. So I
Yeah.
practice martial arts, and a lot of my spirituality came from the actual martial arts themselves. And I learned a lot through that. Like, one of the earliest things that I studied was philosophy, and specifically Eastern philosophy and religions. And it was just because I was some fucked up kid with an overactive mind, and I wanted to.
Mhm.
And I noticed that the more I read and the more that I learned, the less that mind is destroying me. Because when I did nothing,
Mm,
my self-esteem was shit, my self-worth, like I constantly was insecure. So I said, okay, this is one way that I hack my psychology, by giving it something to digest. Because at one point in my life, and this is something that's true for a lot of overthinkers and a lot of people with trauma and rough upbringings, is that our mind evolves to protect us, right? So
mhm.
it's like this rabid dog. It's like, no, 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 you have to
Yeah.
constantly look at all the things that are coming at you. Danger, 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 danger. And even when you arrive at a place of safety, it's constantly looking for problems. So therefore you
Mm,
continuously evoke the same energy and attract the same bullshit to your life. So then you're in a cycle
yeah.
of shit, right? So the one
Yeah.
of the ways that I hack my psychology is by giving myself something complicated to digest. And for that, for me, was philosophy. And it just so
Mm,
happened to be very, very complicated. And I was always thinking about something else. You know, that is part of the reason why I am the way I am. It's been my process since I was like, since I discovered it. The first book I ever read was Siddhartha. And I was like,
mm,
holy shit, this is like a new world, you know? And I
yeah.
was like 14, 15. So I was like this loner, nerdy kid that just loved to read and do stuff like that. And now that is, this is the consequence of that.
I love that. Well, I'm I agree with you. I think that when we challenge ourselves, when we
Mhm.
give ourselves things to think beyond our selfish thoughts, that when we focus on, what could go wrong or what is going wrong, we tend to spiral down this hole. That when we give ourselves something to work towards, or think beyond the pain that we're feeling, that I think that's where our growth starts to happen.
Right.
um I do agree with you there. So I think you should turn this into like a full-time like coaching gig.
You know, what's funny, like it would be pretty cool, you know? I recently like accepted this path though. Like I
Mhm.
was fighting it tooth and nail because I'm gonna tell you straight up, like a large part of me didn't give a shit, you know? Like what
Right.
I learned was for me, for my self-mastery, for my own process, and I just wanted to fuck off into the woods. Like
Mhm.
literally. I am perfectly content. I found abundance. I found peace in my heart, in my life. The only anchor to me in this world is my daughter.
Right.
If it wasn't for her, I'd be like somewhere in the woods just doing, you know, woodsy shit. So, but for
Right.
some reason, the universe keeps pushing me back and keeps bringing me these like broken people. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie to you, I do get a certain sense of accomplishment and peace when somebody actually takes my words and uses value, because it's like I learned this random shit, and it also gives like my life a little bit of vindication, you know, universal vindication. Because like what kind of 15-year-old is studying philosophy? Like one of kind of 15-year-old is interested in neuroscience and psychology and eastern philosophy? And what kind of, you know, 15, 16-year-old is arguing with the reverend about what God is and what God isn't, you know, to the point where they get
Right.
pissed off and throw me out the church? You know, like I was that kid, you know. You
Right.
have to, I always had this like this sense of lack in my life. And I said, and it wasn't until I started, and then what, till I released myself, until I got to this place and I started helping people and guiding
Mhm.
people, even in my own like flavor of assholiness, you know, like it
Right.
started giving, like, I'm here, this is what I'm supposed to be, you know. And I
Right.
always admire, like, as far as the roots of my culture, which is like, you know, Mayans, the Aztecs, the Toltec, I always looked back and I really admired the path of the Nahuatl, which is the path of the enlightened ones, which is like shamans. And there's a really good book that does it justice. It's called The Path of the Shamans, or The
The
Four
path of the
Agreements. If you
shamans.
haven't read that book, it
Right.
does our culture, uh, like it explains it very well. So I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna choose that path, you know. And everything that I learned in terms of psychology, you know, science, neuroscience, philosophy, religion, and wisdom and life. Life is always going to be your greatest teacher. And in terms of
Yeah.
epigenetics, and right now I'm studying hemisynchronization. So I'm just constantly learning. So I was able to like talk somebody out of suicide, you know? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
my biggest accomplishment in life. I can say at this moment I was able to save someone. And to me, like it just snapped. I was like, holy shit, dude, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. Everything in life that has happened to me or I have been a part of has led
Yeah.
me to this specific moment in life so I can be this person and
Uh,
help one of my brothers out, you know what I mean? And
mhm.
everybody that calls me and they tell me like I've spoken to therapists, I've spoken to, you know, practicing neuroscientists that have called me and we just have a good back and forth and we talk about this and that. And one of my friends, like she's a practicing a therapist, and she comes to me for advice or whenever she has a hard case and stuff like that. Because I believe that healing needs to have a multi uh, uh like different approaches. And I believe
Yeah.
that healing is about going back and looking at your traumas and looking forward
Oh,
and
100%.
planning, right? And spirituality, because spirituality is essential for us as human beings without the connotations of religion and
Yeah.
like the Zen stuff or anything like that. But essentially what we're facing now, the epidemic of like specifically in dating, everybody's going to that pool because everybody's looking for meaning and they're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for meaning, yeah, and value outside of themselves. So the most
Yeah.
convenient thing is the dating pool, but the thing is
Yeah.
that hurt people,
Hurt
right?
people.
So
Absolutely.
unfortunately, you know, we spend and we invest 5 years with somebody only to cheat our children out of a two-parent household and the
Yeah.
necessary psychological, you know, constructs and scaffolding to raise
Yeah.
a decent human being, you
Yeah.
know? And to me, like
Absolutely.
I refuse to stand back. And that's what kind of snapped me back into this place. Okay, all right, motherfuckers, you want to learn some shit? Let's fucking go. You know what I mean?
Let's do
So
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's my attitude towards that.
well, first of all, I think that you know, okay, I come at things, I think, the same kind of direction that you're coming from. I may have gotten there in a different way. I
Right,
don't believe in an organized religion. I think that religion was man made to keep the man under control.
right.
Personally, spirituality is completely different. It comes from our souls, it comes from our spirits, it comes from our guides, our angels, it comes from, our ancestors. It comes from a deeper, um, more complex thing than anybody even realizes. So when I was listening to you, I was hearing my spirit guides. I was hearing things. And one of the things that I heard was you've helped more people than you think you have. When you said, you saved this one person from suicide, I heard he saved a lot more than that. Because there's so much that people don't share and don't tell.
Yeah,
Like social media is quite interesting. It is it is a double-edged sword.
right.
It can help in so many ways and it can hurt in so many ways. And a lot of people go onto social media and it's all false. It's all fake. It's all pretend. They are all smiles and their life is peaches and sunshine and cream.
Right.
And it's really not. They're in a lot of fucking pain. They're suffering and there's a lot going on, but they don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to admit that they're hurting. And I think that people like us are able to see beyond that, are able to
Right.
reach people in another way. And I commend you. And I really think personally, if you're not doing this full time, it should be your goal in life to do this full time,
Yeah.
because I really think that there's a lot more people that you can touch and reach, not in a bad way, but in a in a good, hearted, loving way. You might be able to reach people that therapists can't, or
Right.
that their family can't, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of things we can't tell our family. Like if
Right.
I'm having a bad day and I'm depressed and down, I can't always necessarily go to my friends and family and say I'm struggling, because they're just going to tell me, "Oh no, you're fine." and if I say, I'm really inside, they don't know what to say. They don't know what they'll tell me. "Oh, what are you kidding me, Christine? You're strong. You're this, you're that." But in that
Yeah,
moment, I don't feel it. So having someone
yeah,
like you to turn to is really quite a different angle, because I think that a lot of people can admit things and say things that they may not be able to say to other people.
right. No, I definitely agree, you know. There was this one lady that called me, and man, like her energy, even over the phone, was extraordinary. Like you know how you just talk to somebody and like you just see them and you're like, oh man, you are just so full of life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for sure, like she would say like, oh, like I help people too, and like I'm a healer. She was a practicing therapist as well. And I'm all like, the fact that you chose that career and you have this energy about you, she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
my clients love me. I'm like, I know they do, because you're authentic and you actually bring them that type of energy, you know? And I had this
Yeah.
conversation with her, and man, she was just such an extraordinary person too. So, and then she said something to me that kind of like stuck with me. And she's like, you know what? I would have loved to like hang out with you and have some coffee and like get to know each other and like just really talk about this, because I don't really have that many people here to talk about like this stuff like this. And we had like a 3 hour long conversation. I usually do an hour, but I was like, let me learn more about you, you know? And
Mhm.
she said, you know why we're so far apart? Um, it's because we cover more ground that way. And I'm
Hmm.
like, God damn,
Interesting.
dude, that's true, you know? It's like when the thing is like when the universe chooses you and when you
Yeah.
choose that path, the more you struggle against it, the more lonely you feel, like that's what I felt my entire life. I was like this overachiever. Like I finished like 6 marathons, 2 ultra marathons. Like I strive for success in everything that I do because I'm a man, and that is my imperative to be a man. One of the
Mhm.
things one of the people that I aspire to be most in this world is to be a stoic, like the Spartans. They were warriors, like I hit the gym, I have my process, and they were warriors and they sharpened their swords, but the things that they valued most in their life was their mind. And I
Right.
sharpen my mind on the daily. So my body, my mind, my soul is just as sharp because I dedicate the same amount of truth to that. And I feel that when you show up like that,
Mhm.
and you cannot fake authenticity, you cannot fake who you are, and you see
Right.
somebody else and you offer them truth and kindness, that is
Yeah.
because you are able to sustain that abundance. It's like you expand your capacity for love, you fortified your vessel for love, and therefore the universe pours so much love into you that you're able to give it out freely, right?
Yeah.
So when I speak to people, they no longer drain my energy because I have an abundance of this to give. Like I have no limits. So long as I show up for myself every single day, I'll have more than enough, and I'll be strong
Yeah.
enough to have them on my love. So when I hear people say like, "Oh, love is not enough," fuck you. Love is
Yeah.
not enough. You're not enough.
Right.
Love is enough because you make it enough. I make love enough on a daily basis. So you're not going to tell me that love is not enough. You are not enough. Your perspective is not enough. You're still playing like you're this tiny little grain of sand. No, motherfucker, you're part of the greatest, like a vast desert, right?
Yeah.
You're part of
Right.
something extraordinary and something greater. I know that for myself. And you see, that's the power of knowing and believing, right? There is no
Yes.
doubt in me because doubt is the door to fear. So
Yes.
there is no fear in me. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of anything,
Right.
right? So because I was able to fortify my soul, my spirit, my life, my body, my perspective through the trials and tribulation, to the catalyst of pain, I am who I am. And we can all be our extraordinary selves if we set extraordinary as our standard. And being a kind
Yeah.
person in an
I
unkind world is an act of extraordinary, is an act of defiance,
I
right?
agree. Yeah. I think that a lot of people don't know what it takes to love themselves. They think that they have to love someone else for them to love them back, and then that's going to fill their vessel. But we are, I think we're in a, I think we're in a space and time in life that we are realizing that we have to fill our own vessel.
Oh yeah.
And we have to really learn to grow within ourselves and love ourselves before we can even fathom loving somebody else.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Love is everything.
So
And
let me ask you
when
a
it
question.
starts, yeah.
What do you how do you practice self-love?
Um,
Because I get this question all the time, so I want to get your perspective on this.
yeah, I practice self love by telling myself that I'm enough.
Okay.
I tell myself on the daily that that I'm meant to be here, that I am filling a space and time where people need me.
Okay.
And for me, that is everything. If I didn't have people who need me, you know what I mean? That
Mhm.
I'm a giver as well. I'm a healer as well. I have to, by honoring myself, I'm honoring what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay.
um I tell myself all the time that my physical body isn't what's important. It's my soul
Right.
and my heart, my spirit, and that I need to nurture it myself first. That
Yeah.
I am enough in this world, that I'm needed in this world. And I, like you, I have no fear. I
Hmm.
don't fear being alone anymore. I used to.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
no longer fear, I don't fear death, because I know I'll be reunited with the people that I love more than anything in this world.
Right.
Um, I also know that, okay, so a few years ago, let me count. It was maybe about 5 years ago. I've almost died 3 times.
Holy shit.
May,
Okay.
okay. I know for a fact that my grandmother saved me twice, and my my desire to be here for my children is what kept me here the third time. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for me, um I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid to die, but I didn't want to leave my children at the time because at least one of them was still very young.
Right.
And the thought of her having to suffer or have something happen to her like that could keep her from growing, to stunting her emotional growth, I didn't want to leave for that reason. um so yeah, that for me, I have to fill my cup every day. I
Right.
have to tell myself, um I'm here for a reason. I'm here for myself. And then when I'm here for myself, then I can be here for others. My favorite saying ever, 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 ever is when you get on the airplane and the stewardess or the person handling the floor of your flight, whatever you want to call them, um, they tell you put your mask on first. If your air masks come down, you must put your air mask on before you help your children, before you help your
Yeah.
spouse, because if you pass out, you can't help that other fucking person.
Right. Yes.
So
I love that.
I try to, and that's a very cool question, Bryan, because I've never thought of that before. I never thought, how do I take care of myself? Well, I ignore people who tried to put me down, and I
No.
say, fuck that. That's just something trying to pull me out of my path.
Right.
I do personal things for myself. If I don't feel like working, it means I need to rest my mind, my heart, my spirit. Um, uh, I do little things for myself. My most important thing in my life is making sure my hands look good. I get my nails
Okay.
done. I always have to have the blue in my hair.
Okay.
Little things that make me feel good on the outside, also double time on the inside. You know what I
That's
mean?
awesome. I love that because the version of yourself that you are and the version of yourself that you are with your actions are very synchronized. And that's something
Yeah.
that I catch on a lot of people too. I ask them, what is your process? And they just tell me about their work and this and this and that. I'm like, okay, well, how can you love a person you don't know? It's like an absent father. First you need to
Right.
understand that you have no self-knowledge, that you don't know who you are, therefore you do not know your boundaries, therefore
Yeah.
you do not know uh, what you love to do. Therefore you do not feed your soul, because you have no conception of who you truly are as a human being. Your ego is driving you to a certain place, and your ego is
Hmm.
just an amalgamation of peripheral values. So therefore the things that you value are not even the things that are actually valuable, right? So
Yeah.
when people ask me, like specifically women ask me, is like, what do I do to get a decent man? I was like, describe a decent man for me. And they don't know
Mm.
what. So I'm
They
like,
don't.
first you need to know what the fuck you want. You
Yes.
need to, the
100%.
universe isn't going to give you something. Like, you cannot relegate the responsibility of discovery to something outside of you. You have to know
Yeah.
exactly what you want. And then I want you to ask yourself, am I these things?
Yes.
Do I do these things? Do I provide these things? And
Yes.
if there's a desynchronization between what you desire and what you're at and who you are and what you provide, then you're never
Yeah.
going to get that, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, me, I consider myself a self-actualized man, practicing, and I choose excellence every day. I can sustain a family. I can be romantic. I can be masculine, but I'm also very balanced. I am wise and I'm intelligent. And these are the
Hmm.
things that I value in myself. And those are the
Self.
things that I value in other people. I don't do
Yes.
online dating because it's
Yes.
garbage to me. I
Yes.
don't do any of that, right? I don't go to bars and meet people. I go to bars, have a beer with my homies, and I observe people, and everybody there is running away from themselves, right?
Right.
So when
I
I talk
agree.
to people, I can see your fear. You reek of fear. How
Hmm.
can I find that attractive? I can like narrow in on on your fear. So think about it this. Think of this, and like, this is a message to women. Why would a good man risk themselves with you? You
Right.
think about this. I as a good man, like, we get thrown out into the world. Most of us get thrown out into the world, and you're expected to do whatever you have to do to survive. Like my kid, she's going to be 40 and I'm still going to be taking care of her because she's my princess. I don't give a shit. Like, if she's going to need me, like, hey, I'm going to be there so long as I'm alive, because
Right.
that is my blood. That is my treasure in this world. So I'm going to take care of her, right, until
I
another
love
man
that.
comes along and assumes that responsibility. But I'm going to teach her how to survive as well. I'm not going to coddle her or anything like that.
Right.
So let me ask you this. What do I find valuable in a woman? I want a woman that is able to sustain my family, because I'm going to tell you, as strong as I am, I'm not invincible. I need
Right.
somebody that, if I fall, you're going to pick up a fucking sword and you're going to fight with me. You're going to
Exactly.
prioritize your relationship above me, above your feelings. That is our relationship. You and I will be the pillars. Our relationship will be the roof, and what we cultivate in the middle will be like our future children or our family. So I need a woman that understands her femininity, but also has that certain amount of masculinity to be able to come and fight back and fuck shit up with me, right? Because
Balance.
I cannot exactly. I cannot guarantee you that I'm always going to be strong. I cannot guarantee that she's always going to be strong.
Yeah.
We have to do this as a team.
Yeah.
The environment has changed and shifted
Hmm.
in where we are in the last 200 years. So
Hmm.
now I can say, like, I'll take care of you in this way, right? But I need a woman that knows herself, because I'm not going to spend 10 years of my life with somebody. And if you rob my child of a two-parent household, I will never forgive you. I'll love you and good to you or whatever, but I'm not going to risk my future children growing up without two parents, right?
Right.
Because that is
That's
my
hard.
job. So
Yeah.
therefore,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out there and fuck around. I'm abstinent. I don't have sex with just anyone, or I don't have sex, period. Ever since my last girlfriend, I just don't. Nothing even sexual. I'll tell you this straight up, because I practice control. I decide I decide what I want. Not my
Right.
body, not my hormones, not nothing. I have complete self mastery of who I am, and therefore I'm looking for a goddess. I'm not looking for just some girl. I'm looking for a motherfucking
Exactly.
goddess, right?
I agree.
I journey to the top of this fucking mountain, and And if I don't see anybody here, then it's just me. I got me. Don't worry about it, baby girl. Like your tits and
Yep.
your ass are cool, whatever, but that's not for me. Like I need substance. I need your soul. I need
Substance.
your truth. You know what I mean? And
I
it's
do.
that's what a good man is looking for. So if that is not what you provide, you're never gonna have a decent man. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. So, we're a live show and there is listeners that do respond with some of the things we talk about. And
Okay.
Kane _777 said he took the word single out of his vocabulary because it signifies that something is missing. And I agree.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
I love that too. I've never heard it put that way because I think that really resonated with me. I think that what we were talking about filling our own vessel, being the
Yeah.
person we need to be for ourselves, and then knowing who and what we want in this life. Because I believe that when you're talking about the positive, the universe is going to bring that to you. The universe doesn't know the difference between negative and positive. So if you're
Right.
saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, it's just hearing what you don't want, but it hears that the word want no job, want no credit. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with that. I think that we tend to we got to take out of our vocabulary, out of our life, the things we don't want, and only talk about the things that are good for us, that we want, that we need. And knowing that, I think that's the first part of someone's journey, is finding that out, figuring out what do you want, who you
Absolutely.
are. Yeah, I agree. um
Absolutely. And everything. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Everything what?
Okay. Well, I was gonna add to that, like everything that we do, every action, like when I ask somebody like what makes you unique, they're like, oh,
Hmm.
my fingerprints, my eyes, this and that. No, no, no. Everybody has that. Those are all physiological aspects. But what makes you unique in this world, in this existence, in this fragment of existence, in a vast multiplicity of universe, in infinity, is your fingerprint of your actions, because only you're going to do what you're going to do. So if you're regurgitating the actions of everybody else and you're just a copy and paste version of everybody else, you're not truly living, right?
Yeah.
So everything that we do evokes an action. When I wake up in the morning and I meditate at 4:30, when I check my charts, because I trade too, and when
Hmm.
I check my charts and when I go to the gym and when I follow through all those processes, I am setting precedence for myself. I am
Yes.
throwing energy out there as a fact, right? So some of the work, I know, like, we got probably like 12 minutes, but some of the work that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about is that we're able to understand the emotional signatures
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
our emotional signatures through electromagnetomy and through CAT scans and brain scans and all that stuff. So when we're in a state of gratitude, we emit this electromagnetic field that's 3 meters wide,
Yep.
and that's a fact. That's an actual thing. And through connecting with that God or the universe or quantum field, whatever you want to call it, whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. So to me,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. You are able to write new code, right? So
Yes.
if you're sick, if you're blind, blah blah blah, there's cases where people heal themselves. So energy is very, very real,
Powerful.
and it's very, very effective, and the things that
Yeah.
you do, the things that you say, are the energy. It's like you throw a stone in a lake and it creates waves. That is
Yeah.
the energy that you're giving out to the universe, right?
I
And that
agree.
is the energy that's going to come back to you. To me,
Yeah.
that scientifically it makes sense, philosophically it makes sense, and logically it makes sense,
It makes a
right?
ton of sense.
Right.
So, how do you feel, Bryan, about talking? We can't do it today because we ran out of time. I cannot fucking believe how fast this time flew.
Right.
But how do you feel about coming back in the next couple of weeks? And
Yeah.
how do you feel about talking about steps to find yourself, steps to get yourself ready for dating, and dating tips for those who are struggling? Do you feel comfortable coming
Yeah,
back and talking about
yeah,
stuff?
definitely. I'd be happy to. So
That'd be
like
great.
I like to give solutions more than like talk about the problems,
That's
because
me too.
that's my whole thing. Like, let's get to the fucking point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the things I want
My
to tell
therapy
you.
didn't work for me.
Yeah, yeah, see, that's why I always tell people, like, therapy, I wouldn't have been a good therapist. I would have been fired the first day,
No.
because I'm not gonna put up with your shit. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you straight up. That's why I take the approach of like I'm your asshole best friend. Like I'm giving you my time. Like my time is the most malleable thing that I can give you. So, and I'm willing to do that because I love you. You know, I don't know
Yeah.
you, but you are seeking your truth. Therefore, I'm going to give you the love of my time.
I love
That
it.
is how I communicate.
I love
So
that.
one of the things I wanted to give out there, like before
Before
things
we
end,
part
is
today.
I want to give you 5 things, and this is what I'm writing about. This book that I'm writing about. There's 5 practical solutions that you can adopt today that is going to elevate you to that next version of yourself if you're
Okay.
ready to take those things. Is that something you'd like to hear?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually are over our time.
Oh, okay.
Can is there okay. Yes. Can okay. I don't think we have time for it today, but
Okay.
I actually hold on as soon as we log off here, it'll be just you and I. Let's
Okay.
schedule because I want the very first opening of the next episode that I have with you, which is in like a
Okay.
week or two. Have
Sure.
you come back and we'll start with those 5 things and then we can break
Awesome.
those 5 things down. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Awesome. I hate that we're out of time because I do want nothing but to talk for you with you forever. So I hope that you all come back. We're going to bring Bryan back in just a couple of weeks, and I'll let you know when that's happening. But until then, let's just keep this shit real.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.